On November 2nd, 2014, I was lucky enough to kill this 8-point buck on my 47-acre property in Lenawee County, Michigan. The buck was killed from a ladder stand on a giant oak tree at the edge of a heavily used travel corridor that funnels deer traffic between two open grass fields. I knew this would be a hard act to follow, but I was determined to kill another buck from that same stand this year, concentrating on the last few days of the early archery season in Michigan, which coincides with the peak of the rut. Unfortunately, that funnel was badly compromised on November 11th when my neighbors tracked this beautiful 8-point through my sanctuary and right up into the funnel. So on the last day of early archery season, I needed to adapt to changing conditions. This wider view of my property shows that we created a no-go zone in daytime for mature deer in the bedding area up towards the northeast and in the route that we took to remove the deer. I decided to hunt at the north edge of my property in an alternate route around the north grass field. It paid off. I sat from before dawn until 1 p.m., repeatedly seeing the buck I eventually shot about 100 to 150 yards away throughout the morning. I decided to pack up and still hunt my way over to him, and was just getting ready to climb down from my tree when I saw a yearling scramble through the brush towards me. I unzipped the pack, got my camera out, and was videoing him when I saw the bigger one coming behind him. I hurriedly mounted my camera on the camera arm with him only 30 yards away. I got busted cold by the yearling while scrambling around. He ran west. The bigger buck watched him go and walked right towards me to check out what scared off the little guy. I tried to get sighted in on him with my crossbow, but he sight busted me too. For the first time in my life, I got the dreaded buck fever. I was shaking like a leaf knowing he was on to me. He turned as I fired, and I had no idea where I hit him, but could tell he was hit hard by his gait as he made his escape, running for a short ways and then walking slowly for another 150 yards before he disappeared. My neighbor Luke came over and we investigated his trail. We found lung blood and blood coming from both sides, so we continued the track until we came to my neighbor's property line. Now we had a very sparse blood trail. We knew we had not pushed him because I had last seen him from my stand right near the property line. So we backed out, and about 3 hours passed as I went back home and examined the footage frame by frame, but I still could not see where the buck was hit because the camera, which was at knee level, had a bush in its way. But as I reconstructed the scene in my mind and thought about the lung blood, it convinced me that he was probably dead. I called my neighbor who was hunting on his property and got permission to track the buck for a short ways onto his property. We followed the spotty blood trail for about 50 yards when my friend Trina spotted him another 50 yards away in the open hardwood swamp. I had no target 4.5-year-old bucks identified on my property this year, so I was determined to shoot a buck in the upper 10% of what was available in the area, which meant that this 3.5-year-old, which had previously been captured on trail camera by my neighbor and fellow deer cooperative member John Young, was fair game. I got this buck on my small property by adapting to current conditions and hunting a spot that was not usually the best spot on the property, but became the most likely spot to kill a buck based on the current conditions.